Okay, welcome. Good morning, Jai Sita. Good to see you at the Bhakti Center in the Tump Room. Thank you. I see Ross and Asha back there. Hey, guys. Alan is over there. I think I saw Abdul stepping in through the Tump Room. I see the right arm of someone in a white shirt, I'm assuming is Ananda Bihari. Oh, no, it's Evan. Hey, Evan. The white shirt should have given it away. It's good to see all you guys and all those who are there at the Temple Room. I'm sorry I can't be there with you in person. It is true. Yes, I'm here in London. I arrived and then the Queen died. So I'm not a bearer of great luck for the country of England. But I'm looking forward to be back with you guys all soon. Since I'm remote here in Nanda Bihari Ji, should we skip the Jai Radha Madhava?
Yeah, Blue Aprons did that for us. So.
Hare Krishna. Okay. So I'm going to pull up our verses here. In 1 second. Let me go ahead. We're in the 10th canto, correct? 10th canto Srimad Bhagavatam. And you mentioned chapter 10,
18
correct?
And, verses 18 and 19.
18 and 19. Okay, I got.
I'm sharing the screen in case you'd like me to.
I would love to share the screen myself, just so that if it's okay, that way I can navigate accordingly. Would that be okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Share screen. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Canto 10, Chapter 10, Verse 18. I will just read the Sanskrit myself without a call and response, just for the simplicity and also because of the remoteness. Sadhunam samachittanam mukunda charanaishinam upekshaikim dhanastambar asadbir asad arshrayahi. Okay, so we get two amazing verses here with substantial purports. Translation. By Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, we were still fortunate enough to have Srila Prabhupada with us, so the devotees at the time, to personally translate this section of Srimad Bhagavatam. So these are Prabhupada's translations and purports. Saintly persons, sadhus, think of Krishna 24 hours a day. They have no other interest. Why should people neglect the association of such exalted spiritual personalities and try to associate with materialists, taking shelter of non-devotees, most of whom are proud and rich? Hare Krishna. Purport. A sadhu is one who is engaged in devotional service to the Lord without deviation. Bhajate mam ananyabhak. Then Srila Prabhupada quotes a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Titikshava karunika suhrida sarvadehinam ajata shatrava shanta sadhava sadhu bhushanaha. The symptoms of a sadhu are that they are tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. They have no enemies. They're peaceful. They abide by the scriptures, and all their characteristics are sublime. Srimad Bhagavatam 3:25-21. A sadhu is suhrada sarva dehinam, the friend of everyone. Where in Bhagavad Gita does Krishna mention himself to be suhrada sarva dehinam? Anyone for 10 extra bhakti points? Anyone can speak up from the class in person, or what do we got?
Oktaram Yajnatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suhridam.
Oktaram Yagatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suhrida Sarvadehinam Gyatvam Mam Shantim Richati. We find that in Srimad Bhagavatam. What's the verse? Krishnadai Prabhu, our local pundit. Don't be shy. It's the end of the 5th chapter, Bhagavad Gita. Krishna mentions this. End of Bhagavad Gita. Bhoktaram sagya tapasam sarva loka maheshwaram suhrada sarva dehinam gyatva mam shantim vrichadi. So we learn there are 2 types of Bhagavats. The 2 types of Bhagavats are the person Bhagavat and the book Bhagavat. So a person Bhagavat is the person who's representing the teachings of Bhagavatam of Sri Krishna. So it's very interesting. We'll look at this in a little bit later when we see the qualities of the devotees mirror the qualities of Krishna and how we should aspire to be in our character. So these qualities of Krishna and qualities of devotees are parallel. Back to the purport. Why then should the rich, instead of associating with sadhus, waste their valuable time in association with other rich men who are averse to spiritual life? Both the poor man and the rich man can take advantage of the Krishna consciousness movement, and here it is advised that everyone do so. There's no profit in avoiding the association of the members of the Krishna consciousness movement. Narottam Das Thakur has said, Sat Sangachadi Kainu Asata Vilasa Te Karana Lagila Ye Karma Bandha Hansa. If we give up the association of sadhus, what is the definition of a sadhu thus far as according to this purport? Who is that? I see Domi swaying in and out of the Zoom screen. Oh, she's fully gone from the Zoom screen.
Someone who is with Krishna 24 hours, is that the sadhu?
Krishna 24 hours, says the host. A sadhu is engaged in devotional service to the Lord without deviation. And also it's mentioning here, saintly persons, sadhus, think of Krishna 24 hours a day. And this is an important discussion for us because we often have the question of who is a devotee? What does it mean to be a devotee? And if we're not careful, it's very the mind is conditioned by material ways of thinking. So the way the mind works is that the more you think of something, the more it becomes a part of your reality. Like if you tell yourself a lie enough times, it becomes the truth. There was once a TV character who was once said, "It's not a lie if you believe it." They're making a joke. But the idea that, and what do we believe? We believe the things that we tell over and over. So the way the mind works, it's like a memory foam pillow. Like when you put your face on a pillow, the imprint that it leaves is based off of 2 things. The amount of pressure you put on it, so the depth of the way that you press on it, and the amount of time that you leave on it. So like let's say you wash your clothes, right? And you wash your clothes and you leave them sitting in a bag for a day before you hang them. If you leave them sitting in a bag for a day before you hang them, they're going to be naturally wrinkled because they just sat in that wrinkled place and they absorb those wrinkles and it impresses on who it is. So if we think, our devotees are very mindful of the thoughts that we think. A critical thought comes in our mind, we don't entertain it. A negative thought mind comes in our head, and we're careful because the more that we entertain it, the more likely we are to think that thought into the future. And so devotees are very careful. The entire 6th chapter of the Gita describes how we should be careful about the way we engage our mind, because devotees are very, very careful about what I think about, because what I think about informs what I continue to think about, what I think about more, the type of things that I'm attracted to thinking more about, like a home page you have on your browser. The home pages is where you automatically go to. Where do my thoughts automatically go to? So this idea of bringing material consciousness, if we're not careful, because we're conditioned to think in certain ways, into our spiritual lives, by all of a sudden now I've been conditioned to judge people externally. We live in a culture and a society that judges people externally. And we can bring that consciousness into our devotional life. So I'm going to start judging devotees externally. Who's a devotee? Well, devotees dress a certain way. Devotees, have a certain name. Devotees, this. And then I think, okay, I need to mold my life externally in such a way so that I look like a devotee, or I appear to be a devotee. But actually, the qualifications of a devotee are based off of internal criteria. that manifest in the external. The external are symptoms of the internal mechanisms of a devotee. And so much of what we're hearing here today, what are the definitions of devotee that's given here in the third, from the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 25, Titikshasva Karunika, that they're kind to all people. Suhrada Sarvadehina, they're a well-wisher to all people. Ajatra Shatrava Shanta, they are not the enemy of anybody. And Shanta, they're peaceful. These are the Sadhava Sadhu Bhushana. Bhushana means ornament. A name for Krishna is Bhushana Bhushana. He is the ornament of his ornaments. So when you look at the deities, you see the necklace looks beautiful and the flowers look beautiful. Actually, they're only beautiful because they're next to Krishna. They have some relationship to Krishna. So Krishna is Bhushana Bhushana. He is the ornament of his ornaments. He's the reason the necklace looks beautiful. He's the reason the lotus flower looks beautiful. Krishna's eyes are not beautiful because they're shaped like lotus petals. Lotus petals are beautiful because they're shaped like Krishna's eyes. And so these are the ornaments of a devotee. These are the ornaments of a devotee. So if we give up the association of sadhus, and how is sadhus defined in this verse? They're defined by their constant engagement in devotional service and by these beautiful qualities. So if we give up the association of sadhus, Prabhupada continues, saintly persons engaged in Krishna consciousness, this is the definition Prabhupada gives. And he combines, it's very interesting, Prabhupada combines the definitions that are given. Saintly persons, sadhava sadhu bhushana, saintly persons, as the definition Prabhupada gives from this earlier verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, engaged in Krishna consciousness, that's the definition given in this verse. Saintly persons think of Krishna 24 hours a day. So Krishna is combining the definitions from this verse to be engaged in Krishna consciousness 24 hours a day, constantly, consistently, and the saintly qualities from this verse. If we give up the association of those sadhus and associate with persons seeking sense gratification and accumulating wealth for this purpose, our life is spoiled. The word asat refers to an avaishnava, who is not a devotee of Krishna, and sat refers to a Vaishnava, Krishna's devotee. One should always seek the association of Vaishnavas and not spoil one's life by mixing with Avaishnavas. In Bhagavad Gita 7.15, the distinction between Vaishnava and Avaishnava is enunciated. Namam duskritino mudha prapadyante naradhama maya yaparata jnana asuram bhavam ashrita. Anyone who is not surrendered to Krishna is a most sinful person, duskriti, a rascal, mudha, and the lowest of men, naradhama. Therefore, one should not avoid the association of Vaishnavas, which is now available all over the world in the form of the Krishna consciousness movement. So this was Prabhupada's gift, was to Haribol Goswami Prabhu, so good to see you. I need an extra pundit on hand in case I say something wrong, or I need an extra reminder of where something's coming from Shastra. All over the form of the Krishna consciousness movement. So this was Prabhupada's gift, was to create opportunities. Really, in some ways, Srila Prabhupada referred to the Krishna consciousness movement was created to give people the opportunity to associate with Vaishnavas. And that's why we exist at the Bhakti Center. You know, we look at, I'll pull up here, we look at our vision, our reason for existing at the Bhakti Center. Our vision, our mission is, oops, that's not it. Our mission, our vision is pulling it up for you. We exist to develop a nourished, inspired, and engaged community of devotees that people love to be around. We strive to create relevant ways for people to experience spiritual transformation and feel at home within our community, and making it easy to apply the principles of Krishna consciousness in their daily lives. So the majority of our community existing, is to give people the opportunity, to give us the opportunity to come together as a nourished, inspired, and engaged community of devotees that are exemplifying the principles of Krishna consciousness as taught in Srila Prabhupada's books, and then simply invite people into that Sangha. It's not about teaching people yoga or Ayurveda, or about teaching them how to pronounce Sanskrit, or teaching people, whatever it might be, certain standards. It's simply all of that comes as a result or as a means of associating with Vaishnavas. And who are those Vaishnavas? It's you. It's you, Gosharan, and Jai Sita, and Ras, and Asha, and Adi Purush Prabhu, and Domi, and Krishna Daya Prabhu, and Aaron, and Jamuna Jai. It's you. It's us. And so when we read these purports, these sadhus, it's a call to action for us to assess, how am I doing, not just in the externals of my Krishna consciousness, but in terms of my internals of Krishna consciousness. My titikshasva karunika. How am I being merciful and tolerant to other devotees? Suhrida sarvadehinam. Am I a genuine well-wisher? If I find myself thinking ill of other people, it's a big red flag that can come up. I may need space from certain people. I may need to set boundaries with certain people. I may need to make tough decisions if I'm in a management position, or if I'm leading an ashram, or if I'm living in an ashram, or if I'm conducting service in some way. I may need to make tough decisions in regards to other people's service and how to engage people accordingly. But am I thinking ill of them and wishing them ill? Or do I genuinely want their success? Ajata Shatrava Shanta. Am I conscious to act in such a way that I am not becoming the enemy of other people? And through all of that, I can actually become peaceful. And so those are the criteria for us to become sadhus ourselves. And we must associate with sadhus in order to get there. Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, the 2nd chapter, one of my favorite verses of the Gita, actually. It's not necessarily a verse that is related to, it's not necessarily a verse related to something. It's not necessarily one of the more well-known or quoted verses of Bhagavad Gita. But it's chapter 16 of verse 2 that I quote often because I like this verse. It's where Krishna defines, and I'm referencing it in the context that Srila Prabhupada is referencing these words sat and asat, and a Vaishnava and an Avaishnava. And Krishna defines in the Bhagavad Gita the verse, the definition of the word sat and asat. Nasato vidyate bhavo na bhavo vidyate sataha ubhayor api drishtontas tva ananyos tattva darshibi. So the tattva darshibis, the seers of the truth, have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. And the word for eternal is the same word for truth in Sanskrit. So the word sat means eternal, and also means that which is true. And the word asat means that which is temporary and that which is false. So that which is lasting is what's true. So satsanga is devotees, is people that remind you and bring you into closer connection with your true self. Bhakti-siddhanta, would someone mention that those who praise me are my worst enemies. Because if we don't want people that are going to reinforce a false ego of myself, a false ego that I am, an amazing brahmachari, or amazing grihasta, or amazing manager, or I'm such a great kirtan singer, I'm such a great preacher, I'm a great whatever. We want devotees who are going to, satsanga means devotees who are going to bring us closer to our identity as devotees. That's the association that we want to be looking for. And that's the association that Srila Prabhupada is referencing in this verse and purport. There's some things here in the chat. Oh, someone's just taking, Angelica's our scribe. She's taking notes. Thank you, Angelica. If anybody would want to, we're meant to read two verses and purports today. This is the first verse and purport. Would anybody like to share comments, insights, or questions related to this verse and purport before we move on to the next one? Anyone in our crowd? Arjuna has joined us, sitting there in the back. We got none. Okay. Moving on to the next verse and purport. Canto 10, chapter 10, verse 19. Tadaham matayor madhya varunya shri madhandayo tamo madham harishyami strainayor ajit tat manoho. Translation. Therefore, since these two persons, drunk with a liquor named Varuni or Madhvi, are unable to control their senses, have been blinded by the pride of celestial opulence, and have become attached to women. Hare Krishna. I shall relieve them of their false prestige. Purport. When a sadhu, so we've been learning about a sadhu, chastises or punishes someone, he does not do so for revenge. Go back to the verse and purport that we just read about Suhrada Sarvadehinam, Ajata Shatrava Shanta, not wishing ill upon anybody. So we were just speaking about how sometimes you may need to make tough decisions. Narada Muni had to make a very tough decision. He had to do what was best for these two individuals, even though it may seem like it wasn't something that was nice in the moment. It was for their ultimate good. And the qualifying factor was that he didn't do it in a mood of, I'm going to show these guys. I'm going to just like grind them, like, yeah, stick it to them. They deserve karma, punishment. He did not do so for revenge. Maharaj Parikshit had inquired why Narada Muni was subject to a spirit of revenge, tama, because that's in the mode of ignorance. But this was not tama. For Narada Muni, in full knowledge of what was for the good of the two brothers, wisely thought of how to cure them. Vaishnavas are good physicians. They know how to protect a person from material disease. Thus they are never in tamo guna. Saguna samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Bhagavad Gita 14:26. Vaishnavas are always situated on the transcendental platform, the Brahma Buddha platform. The Brahman platform, Prabhupada says. They cannot be subject to make mistakes or the influence of the modes of material nature. Whatever they do after full consideration is meant to just lead everyone back home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada in the previous verse and purport talked about the definition of a sadhu. He used the definition given in the verse itself about someone who's constantly thinking of Krishna 24 hours a day. And then he brought in the definition given in the third canto of the Bhagavatam of a sadhu who is ornamented by their good qualities, by their character of tolerance, kindness, and compassion, wishing well to all other living beings, not thinking ill of anybody, and not becoming the enemy of anyone, not being anyone's enemy, at least in our heart of hearts. And then it's being given in the context of Narada Muni, who is having to curse these two people, who we'll be singing about shortly in the month of Kartik every night, the story of the Damodar pastime and the liberation of the two people who were cursed to stand as trees. And he's mentioning this quality of a sadhu, so that even if we see something externally that seems to be harsh, sometimes the word sadhu refers to one who cuts. But it is done in a mood of compassion. And sometimes we take on the mood of a sadhu without the internal mood of compassion, and it just becomes oppression. We think, well, people need to hear the truth. Yes, but are you on the level of Narada Muni? Can you say that you are these qualities? Are you Titikshishva Kurunada Suhurda Sarvadehinam Ajata Shatrava? Are you always peaceful because you're thinking of Krishna 24 hours a day? And so sometimes we take half of the instruction without without the other side of it. And we just become hard preachers. I'm just telling it like it is. I'm just giving what people need to. I'm just letting people know what they need to know, without understanding what is the qualification. Or we'll hear a statement from Prabhupada and I'm just repeating what Prabhupada said. Yeah, but Prabhupada said it because he had a purity that allowed him to convey certain things. Prabhupada also said, I'm an old man, I can say things that you cannot. So in our presentation, or a representation, the representation of Prabhupada's teachings, we have to be mindful of our own intention and the integrity of our character. And therefore we perform our sadhana very sincerely to build up our level of purity that qualifies us to become expert physicians. And a physician is not someone who has necessarily only studied the Shastras intensively. How do you become a physician in the material world? You go to school for 8 years, then you study residency for 8 years, and it's 12 years of training, and then you can start to become a first-year doctor. It's just study and intense practice. With devotional life, we have study and intense practice, and even that doesn't get us to the point of being in great spiritual physicians. What is it? It's by the mercy of Krishna. And Krishna says as much in 10th verse of 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. What's the verse, Gauranga Prabhu? Yes, the full verse. Yes, Krishna mentions in the 10th verse of 10th chapter, one of the most famous verses in the Chatur Shloki of Bhagavad Gita, Tesham Satata Yuktanam. Again, here's our word again. Our definition of sadhu is there. You see the connection of Shastra. Prabhupada's referencing the 3rd chapter, 3rd canto of Bhagavatam. Prabhupada, we're reading from the 10th canto of Bhagavatam about a sadhu engaged 24/7. And Prabhupada, Satata Yuktanam, this word sat, always, eternally, ongoing, Yuktanam, engaged. Tesham Satata Yuktanam, the definition of sadhu is engaged. How? Bhajatam Priti Purvakam, engaged in pure love. To that person, Dadami Bhuti Yogam Tvam Yena Mam Upayantite. I give them the intelligence by how they can come to me. Rana Swami once mentioned to me, he said, I don't know why so many people come to me for relational advice. People getting married, and I was asking him a question about something. He said, I have no experience in this subject. But he said, I really care about people. And when you care about people, Krishna gives you the intelligence by how to serve them. And so, Didhami Buddhi Yogam Tvam. When you're serving people with love and you care about people, Suhrida Sarva Dehinam. When you are concerned for their welfare. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So when we have, how do we become expert physicians? We become in tune with Krishna in the heart, who's in the heart of other people. Then how do we become attuned with Krishna in the heart? Through the sincerity of our character. Krishna, I don't want to feel negatively towards other people. Krishna, I don't want to wish ill towards anybody. Krishna, I don't want to rejoice when I see somebody else struggling. Krishna, I don't want to feel better. I don't want it to be that I feel better about myself when I see other people doing less than myself. I don't want it to be that I become envious when I see the incredible ways that other people are serving you. I don't know how to get there. I don't know when I'll get there, but I just want to be happy when I see other people advance. I want to be happy when I see other people getting acknowledgement and praise. I want to be happy seeing other people coming closer to you. And I want to be happy being in a position where in any small or large way, I'm just facilitating that for other people. And I want to do that so that I can create this amazing community of sadhus, of devotees, that living in a way of just trying to make everyone else succeed. And make that such an attractive feature in the world that people want to become a part of that. And so that's my goal, Krishna. That's my prayer to you. Make me a physician in your hands. By protecting me from the material disease of kama, krodha, lobha, of anger, greed, and intense desire for personal gain. so that I can be situated on the Brahmabhuta platform, which will allow me to connect with you in a deep way and be able to serve in the ways that you are guiding me. Bhima said the surgeon applies anesthetic before the cut. It's 7:48. I don't know if this is the time to stop and ask for some more questions or realizations. Gaur Sharan, Jai Sita's wonderful, beautiful devotees in our audience, and also on Zoom. If anybody would like to share a question, you can put it in the chat, or Krishna Daya has his hand raised. Yes, Krishna Daya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the wonderful class on the. You stopped sharing the screen. So thank you for the class about the qualities of sadhu, how to understand. So in the purport, second shloka purport, Srila Prabhupada wrote, Vaishnavas are beyond this. They are always on the transcendental platform, and they are not subjected to the modes of material nature. So they cannot be subject to the mistakes or influences of modes of material nature. So this is really Srila Prabhupada is giving a big statement, like when we are practicing, so we struggle with our sadhana, and then we struggle to get along with the devotees, and then everybody is a Vaishnava, so we should not commit aparadh. So in that sense, but we see that so there are different devotees who exhibit different levels of the qualities. So then how do we understand that this particular line that they cannot be subject to the mistakes, or they are always situated on the transcendental platform?
Great question. And I have a hard time believing that you struggle to get along with anybody. You are so sweet. You're the epitome of sweetness. And so you're very humble, and it's very heart-melting. So devotees are always, it's interesting when we look at how we live life according to the gunas. So you can take the example of Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, how to make decisions, for example, in the modes of goodness, passion, or ignorance. So the mode of ignorance is when we don't make decisions, we just let life make decisions for us. We just let life just kind of like happen to us without any type of thought put into it. Life is making decisions for us, and we're just kind of a victim of circumstance. Decision making in the mode of passion is based on impulsivity. What feels good now? What do I want to do now? What feels good in the moment? It's just kind of like this gut reaction. And decision making in the mode of goodness is when we're reflective. We give ourselves time and space to think about what we think is the best thing to do. But even in that case, none of them solved Arjuna's problems. And he had to elevate his decision making to the level of Shuddha Sattva by approaching a spiritual solution from either gurus or inspiration or shastra. And so he approached Krishna directly, so he gave that example. And so Arjuna was a pure devotee, but he became covered by doubt and illusion, etc. So his saving grace wasn't that he had all the answers or that he made no mistakes. His saving grace was that he always knew where to go to be corrected. And so as devotees, it's not that we have this pressure that we're always perfect but we understand that even my own reflection and thoughtfulness operating on the mode of goodness is limited. And so because devotees have no ego, or they're working on their ego, they're not afraid to admit when they made a mistake. They're not afraid to admit when they need guidance and help. They're always keeping close association with other devotees and people who can give guidance into their life. And they're not afraid to make a decision because they want to move forward with Krishna's guidance in the heart and guidance of devotees and guidance of our gurus and teachers, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. But our willingness to self-correct and be corrected and constantly assessing our motives keeps us on the right path and pushes us towards that Brahman platform, that Brahmabhuta platform. And it's also not something that is a one-time thing. It's not like, ooh, I achieved Brahmabhuta status and here I am. It's like a moment-to-moment surrender that we have to be careful of. Does that help answer your question, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much. The fact you said that they know where to go, the devotees know where to go in the case of trouble. So
Yes.
that is hoping thing.
Yes.
And then the last point you said, it's not just a one-time thing. It's a moment-to-moment surrender. So that is
Yes.
really, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
I can say something.
Yes, Evan, please.
So one of the qualities of a sadhu is that, here, let me see, is that they're very rare. Someone who's thinking about Krishna 24 hours a day, we might not come across them on a daily basis, a person of that caliber. So, but that's recommended as a process to reach that goal. So how can we reconcile that? Like, how can we need this thing, but it's super rare to achieve? So
yeah, it's a good question. So there's a couple of thoughts on that. One is that we can associate with Srila Prabhupada, with his books and his teachings. It's important for us to have that association regularly. And so that's just one way, immediately associating with Srila Prabhupada through his books. So we can have that association. 1. 2, Srila Prabhupada himself mentioned that he would see all of his disciples as the representatives of his Guru Maharaj. So we have our gurus as examples. There are senior devotees and gurus, whether they're formally recognized as gurus or not. There are gurus, Diksha gurus and Shiksha gurus, who are thinking of Krishna 24/7 in some way, shape, or form. And we may not always have their direct association, although we can associate with them through their lectures and their classes and other ways. So Prabhupada's books, our gurus' classes, whether they are Diksha gurus or Shiksha gurus. And then in the disciples and followers and grand disciples and followers of Srila Prabhupada, they may not be thinking of Krishna 24/7, but they're aspiring for such. And we should see those devotees as representing the gifts of Krishna. I read just yesterday something really beautiful. It was that I asked for strength, and God gave me difficulties to make me strong. I asked for wisdom, and God gave me problems to learn to solve. I asked for courage, and God gave me dangers to overcome. I asked for love, and God gave me people to help. I received nothing I wanted and everything that I needed. And so this idea of seeing how Krishna is, the devotees in our life are so precious. The devotees in our life are so precious. And I'll read this here also. This was something that somebody sent to me about, it was, let me pull it up. It was Bhakti Tirtha Swami's Principles for Community. He said, and there are 4 principles of community that you can read in various orders. It's pulling up here. He said, it's taking a while. Yes. Think of the person you love the most and aspire to treat everyone with that same quality of love. View all conflicts as your own fault first. Realize that people in your present environment might very well be the people with whom you live out your life and who are likely to be with you at the time of death. And the 4th one, the one I want to highlight. Treat everyone you encounter as if the success or failure of your spiritual life depends on the quality of your interaction with them. I'll say that again. Treat everyone you encounter as if the success or failure of your spiritual life depends on the quality of your interactions with them. So Srila Prabhupada himself mentioned there's not a moment where I'm feeling separation from my Guru Maharaj. I mean, he always felt separation from Guru Maharaj, but he just felt there's not a moment where I'm separate from my Guru. Because he saw everything as everyone he met as a representative of his Guru coming in his life, giving him opportunity to serve. So we can associate with Srila Prabhupada through his books. We can associate through our gurus through their lectures. And we can also see every devotee we meet and reconfigure the way that we approach devotees and see them as people who are striving for the same thing and treat that Sangha very sacredly and see them as representatives of our gurus also, that my Guru has come to me. My Guru has come to me through this person and given me the opportunity to serve and associate with them in some way. And we start to feel the presence of our gurus more deeply in our lives. And it's that constant association with them, whether it's through their vapu or their vani, the physical association or the associate with instruction. And of course, we should always take the opportunity to associate when and where we can. Srila Prabhupada himself, we don't have time to discuss it now, but you look at his biography, he was addicted to hearing from his spiritual master. At one point, Bhaktisiddhanta said of him, said he likes to hear. Whilst the other devotees were off going out and visiting other holy places up in Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada was always sitting there, in front of his Guru listening. So there are devotees around us that maybe they don't think of Krishna 24 hours a day, but they're thinking of Krishna 22 hours a day, or 20 hours a day. And we can take their association. We should take advantage of that. We shouldn't criticize people. Oh, they're not a pure devotee. I need better association. It's like, no, this person's thinking of Krishna 1 hour a day. Hare Krishna, I worship you. You're amazing. Let me serve you. And then Krishna will appear in your heart in deep and profound ways. I see your hand, Bhima Prabhu, but it is 8 o'clock from what I understand. So I don't know.
Very quickly, wonderful class, Prabhu. Wonderful. Just very quickly, someone who thinks of the devotees, service in the devotees is also, according to Prabhupada, thinking of Krishna. So if somebody's running around doing service, or if somebody is thinking about doing service to a devotee for a devotee, then they are thinking about Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Bhima Prabhu, for that wonderful thing. That I hope in some way it helped or answered your question, Evan Prabhu.
Thank you.
Dayal, Gauranga, can I ask a quick question?
You're the host. You can do anything you want.
Okay, good. I'll take advantage of that. When things are challenging and somewhat difficult, it's kind of clear that we're supposed to surrender to Krishna. That's understandable. But when things are going relatively smooth and nice, how do we make our mind go to Krishna automatically by default when things are good?
Don't worry, things won't stay good for too long.
Yeah, just wait, they say. Just wait.
But when things are good, devotees have a different understanding of what it means to be going good. Material comfort, enjoyment, it's not necessarily going good. Devotees recognize this danger for complacency, and therefore we always need to be struggling to serve, and we always need to be struggling to give away. If I'm constantly thinking of how can I give what's given to me away, I don't become complacent. I'm given some wealth, let me give it away. I'm given some comfort, let me use my time, let me share, let me give. Then we don't become complacent, because we can endlessly give. Now, there's so much about that, of making sure that we don't overextend ourselves in a way that we become resentful. If I'm becoming resentful, that means I'm overextending myself. I need to take a step back. Jamuna Jai's got a hand up. I know we're over time. I'm just going to let it roll whenever Darshan has, or I never want to deny Jamuna Jaya.
Hey, Dayal. Thanks for a beautiful class. Could you repeat what you said about I asked for strength and Krishna give me challenges? I want to hear that again.
Yeah, you can Google it. It's also I left it's a longer one, but I asked for strength, and God gave me difficulties to make me strong. I asked for wisdom, and God gave me problems to learn to solve. I'll read the full thing. I asked for prosperity, and God gave me a brain and brawn to work. I asked for courage, and God gave me dangers to overcome. I asked for love, and God gave me people to help. I asked for favors, and God gave me opportunities. I received nothing I wanted. I received everything I needed.
Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you. And say hi to the London guys for me.
Haribo!
You were there too, right, Jamunajaya? You were
Last week.
Yeah, last week. I was leaving as the queen was dying, so I think Dayal finished her off.
Hare Krishna. Is this being recorded?
Yeah, we're gonna share it with the new monarch. He'll be
Hare
happy.
Krishna. Okay, are we still rolling here as darshan, or should we continue discussion?
They can open the curtain any minute, but yeah, let's wait for darshan.
Okay.
Yeah, what you said about I received nothing I wanted, but everything I needed, that was so beautiful. And who's that coming from?
You never know where things come from this day. This is a
Will Smith, maybe?
no, not him. Hazrat Inayat Khan. I'm not sure who that is.
Okay.
I hope they're sadhu. And so, Gosharan Prabhu, do you have something you'd like to share, wisdom that we can glean from?
Krishna is really amazing. Yesterday, I was just hearing a lecture about the same points that you were speaking. I was thinking about them. I come and sit here. I listen to them again. So that was really wonderful.
What was the point?
About like not seeing others as enemies, at least internally, like having that kind of a viewpoint, like we are considering ourselves as servants, not as enemies of others.
Yeah.
I was hearing.
Please don't consider me your enemy. I love you. Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Dayal Gauranga Prabhu ki jai. Bhakti Center, please don't cut us out. Oh, they just did. Okay. Okay, yeah, well, beautiful session, Dayal Gauranga Prabhu. Thank you. We really appreciate your time and your dedication and your example. And what you shared was wonderful. Very practical, down to earth. We see how loving you are. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are we going to get darshan?
No, they stopped broadcasting. And I'm not at the Bhakti Center.
Hare Krishna. Okay, thank you all so much, everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so